I'll say.
So Bishop showed up a couple of times in X-Men the animated series, and he's probably my favorite character. So I'll be going over my totally biased ratings of the episodes that Bishop showed up in. So the first two-parter that he showed up in is Days of Future Past in Season 1, Episode 11 and 12. I would rate the first part, which largely takes place in the future, where the Sentinels have taken over the US, as an A or A+. Contains a lot of fighting, and is the first introduction of Nimrod. The previously on X-Men shows a lot of possibilities that would lead up to the future, that the Days of Future Past occurs in, where there's a lot of animosity between mutants and humans, and Magneto and Apocalypse, and things like that. I would probably rate the second part lower, probably maybe a B minus, because there's much less fighting. There's a lot of, about half of it is Bishop, Gambit, and Wolverine sitting around, thinking that Gambit might be the assassin. But it does have some highlights, but has less of Bishop and less Sentinels and less fighting. The second major set of episodes that Bishop shows up in is in Season 2, Episode 20 and 21, called Time Fugitives. In this set, in the future, Forge tells Bishop that there is an ongoing virus that killed millions of mutants in the past, and so the mutant population is dying out. In Cable's future, which is even further in the future, Cable's computer tells him that when time stabilizes, Cable's future will not occur, as mutants died out in the past. The first part of Time Fugitives, sorry, I think I misspoke. It's Season 2, Episode 7 and 8. Overall, it's Episode 20 and 21. So the first part of Time Fugitives, it's basically a complete story all the way up until Bishop successfully destroying the virus. And I would probably rate the first part as an A+. It has almost no problems. There's even a little bit of political intrigue going on, where it turns out that the virus is created by Apocalypse, but Apocalypse is using mutating human to actually spread it to humans first. I would probably rate the second part as a weak B minus, because it heavily reuses a lot of the footage in the first part. That's probably the major downside of this two-part episode. It's probably one of the first episodes where it reuses a large percentage of the footage. The next episodes that Bishop shows up in is in Season 4, Episode 9 and 10, or overall Episode 54 and 55, called One Man's Worth. Many people compare this with Age of Apocalypse, where Nimrod and Trevor Fitzroy go back in time and kill Professor Xavier when he was fairly young in college. Bishop and Shard shows up in this present time where Magneto is leading mutants, and it's kind of obvious that the mutants aren't winning. And Bishop picks up Storm and Wolverine and takes them further in the past, where they try and stop Fitzroy from killing Xavier. The second part, they go to the future, which has been completely taken over by Master Mold. But Forge, for some reason, still has a time machine that he was working on, because Master Mold hasn't completely killed all the mutants. He's just basically enslaved all mutants and humans. Forge was still working on a time portal, and so they used that time portal to go back in time. Even though this two-parter again reuses a lot of the scenes from the first episode, it does it much less frequently, and it does it in a much more story-appropriate way. I'd rate the first part as a strong A+, and the second part as an A- to B+. And the final episodes that Bishop shows up in is in Beyond Good and Evil. This was originally supposed to be the last set of episodes in the X-Men animated series before it got extended for another season. This is in Season 4, Episode 18 to Episode 21. It's actually a 4-parter. Or overall, it's Episode 63 to Episode 66. In the far future, we have Cable attacking Apocalypse. But Apocalypse actually steals Cable's computer, and when he uses it to time travel, this apparently occurs at the same quote-unquote time that Bishop was traveling back to the future. This knocks Bishop off course. And that's about all Bishop's activity for that episode is. I would rate this first episode as probably a strong A, even though it doesn't contain much of Bishop. Bishop doesn't show up much in these other episodes, but he shows up again in the final episode, or the Part 4 episode, and you find that he actually gets to take on Apocalypse for a little bit, and he shoots him. I would rate overall Beyond Good and Evil as a solid B+, or B, and Bishop's part in it, even though it's few and far in between, I'd rate as fair. So the episodes themselves were good, but Bishop's participation in these episodes weren't that much. Thank you, and have a good day.
Here he comes! Forward! There's a massive impediment in the time stream. Bishop! The X-Men! I bet it's part of all this. Dyla! What's going on? You got it. Easy. Gotta go help the others. 4 against 1, huh? I like the odds. Somebody needed to shut that guy up.
You big ox. You sure know how to make me worry.